Hello everyone, I'm Teri Robinson. I'm the executive editor at SC Media. I'm here at the RSA show with Nathan Wenzler. He's the senior director of cybersecurity at Moss Adams. Hey.
Good morning.
Good to see you. So, and I must remark before we get started, I love that hat. So, let's talk a little bit. I mean, Moss Adams is an accounting firm. So how did an accounting firm work its way into cybersecurity?
That's a funny thing. So in the accounting world and the finance world, compliance drives a lot of the needs for these kinds of customers. And Moss Adams has been an accounting firm for about 105 years now. But the need for their customers to solve compliance problems made them realize a while back that they needed to also address the real core problem, which is the security problem. And so they've have an entire wing of their consulting arm that does nothing but cybersecurity consulting to try to address those problems that, again, start in the compliance world, but they've seen more proactively that it's a much larger issue. Compliance isn't really the security challenge, it's everything else. And so we've adopted that security practice for our customers and have been doing that for several years now and all over the place. It's been great.
Okay, great. So you've concentrated a little bit of late on smaller organizations, and we all know that they run into some issues. I mean, like anybody else, they're probably suffering from skills shortage, but their issues in terms of resources are different from those of large organizations. So can you tell me a little bit about the virtual CISO and sort of how that got its genesis and where you're going with it?
Absolutely. So this is a practice that I'm actually helping to build inside Moss Adams right now, where, as you said, these smaller organizations don't have their own security teams. Often they can't afford the very, very large salaries to bring in skilled security analysts or chief security officers, but they still have very real security problems. And as the regulations, of course, are becoming more and more stringent, what we see for like GDPR in the EU and some other privacy regulations are driving this, they have to do all of it. They can't sit on the sidelines anymore and try to avoid any aspect of a security program. So what we're trying to do now is give them a virtual practice, right? Give them the ability to essentially purchase our services in a short window so that they can get policy advice, they can get strategic consulting, they can get product and tool advice, implementation services, all of the kind of bits and pieces of a security program without having to buy into a multi-million-dollar solution that may or may not actually solve their problem. So coming at it from that consulting standpoint, we get to a much better position to help work with the management of these smaller companies, to find the right strategy, find the right culture fit for them that's going to protect their customers as well as their employees. And we tailor that solution to them to help give them a real security program even when they don't have that expertise in-house or can't find it on their own.
In dealing with the smaller organizations, is there anything, I mean, well, I'm going to say, I know probably not much surprises you, but is there anything that would surprise other people to learn about smaller organizations and their orientation?
Sure. I mean, I think at this point in time, everybody has an IT shop. They've got someone that takes care of their servers and workstations and all of that. So there's been a long-standing belief in many ways that security is just a function of the IT department. And what these organizations find very quickly is it's not. Security isn't really a technology function anymore. It's a risk management function. So it is partially about tools. We need to implement good controls. We need to protect our data. But it's also about culture. It's also about process. It's about the people you hire. It's about your policies. It's all that kind of boring paperwork stuff. But it's very important. And so it's a much, much broader discipline. And you sit down with some of these folks and they try to explain that we're not just going to install software. We're going to help you solve a much bigger problem because we're really being your risk management arm, not just your technology arm.
Do they get it, or does it take a while, or do they go kicking and screaming into this? Or?
It always varies. There are some organizations that absolutely are kind of come kicking and screaming at it, and they can be a challenge. But again, with regulations being what they are today, many of them just don't have a choice. They have to do something. But I've always found that when you can frame it in the risk conversation, that this isn't about trying to get purchase orders out of you to buy lots of stuff, that it really is things you can do with your own employees, and you can work on culture changes and train people and just change how you do business to be more secure. they start understanding that it's a much bigger thing. It's something they can relate to when they understand that it's a risk problem, not necessarily that mystical cloud of technology they don't understand.
Great. Well, Nathan, thank you for joining us today. I certainly appreciate it. And once again, Teri Robinson, Executive Editor at SC Media, with Nathan Wenzler from Moss Adams.